Decide who's going to win. I just have to introduce Chris. He's been awesome so far. He's been here since Thursday. Has been in very close contact to all the developers, being really supportive. He managed the whole university website at Harvard before joining Evernote. He's been at Evernote for 3 years. He's now the head of developer relations, did a great job. And that's actually a reason, you might think we put all the company stands there at random locations, but it's all planned out. Because Chris tried to use this Hyperlapse feature from Apple, from the new iOS, and it didn't really work, I think, for him. So maybe he had some time over the weekend to talk to the guys to see how it actually works. So yeah, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Chris Charganos. Yeah, sure, yeah.
You want to check my mic thing? Sorry, guys, a little technical difficulty. All right.
It should work now.
Does this work?
Yes.
I have no clue how you found that. That's really embarrassing. Last week was our annual developer conference. We had 1,600 developers and users, and that was the day after, so I was a little hungover. My bad. All right, so I have the impossible task of keeping you awake for 30 minutes while the judges pick the best app. So I figured what we should probably do is play a quick game to keep you all awake. How many of you have heard of rock, paper, scissors? Okay, all right. How many use Evernote? Awesome. So here's what we're going to do. I want everyone to stand up, and we're going to play a game of rock, paper, scissors. So here's how it's going to work. So basically, I have a couple Evernote Premium cards for Evernote Premium. So you guys will stand up, and so with rock, paper, scissors, here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to call out rock, papers, or scissors. And if it's a rock and you're scissors, I beat you. If we tie, if we're both rocks, I also beat you. And in the end, they'll actually, because of exponents, you'll actually go down to about 2 or 3 in the end. So why doesn't everyone stand up, get the blood flowing? This will be fun, I promise. All right. All right. So we'll do a quick practice round, okay? So you got to do it at the same time. No cheating, no delayed. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Now you sit down if I beat you, so. Okay, we'll do it, we'll test 2 more times. Everyone stay where you are. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, 3rd try. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right, you guys ready? All right, let's do it. Everyone stand up again. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay. So, everyone get awake. You've been out for 40 hours, a lot of Red Bull. This whole event was brought to you by Red Bull, man. You get so much caffeine. All right, ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right, stay standing if you're, okay. You guys ready? All right, this is stressful. Here we go. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Come on up. All right, everyone stand up. I got a couple more. Okay. All right. Congrats. Okay. Are you going to play too? All right, here we go. Okay, here we go. Well, you play against me. You got a prize. You already got a prize, yeah. So you got to sit down. Right. And then someone else is going to get it. All right. Congrats. Sorry, I'm tired too. My bad. All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay. That was a so-so one. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Wow, all right, man. We're like same wavelength right here. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Man. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. How many got left? We got 4, 3. All right, you guys all come up. You win. Congrats. Thanks. Thank you. All right, the other one, you just come up later. We'll figure it out. Okay, so we're super excited to be here. I'll get you after. Yeah. We're super excited to be here. My name's Chris Traganos. I run developer relations for Evernote. I've been at the company for about 3 years. We're based in San Francisco. How many of you use Evernote for Mac or for iPhone? Okay, some of the core features that you use is actually all built in Zurich. So Evernote for iOS and for Mac. We have iOS and engineers for both products here. We're really excited to be the Evernote Zurich office, and we flew in from San Francisco. We're really excited to be here at HackZurich. The level of talent we've seen from the designers and developers of this, and also just the city's amazing. It's really been great to meet a lot of the different startups here. So this is Evernote Zurich. We're actually, we're right on the river there. We're at Walsterstrasse. I've been trying all week to say that name. And then my group is actually Evernote developers. So we travel all around the world meeting different developers, and we do technical workshops, we do APIs, and we do large hackathons like this. And we also have the privilege of coming to HackZurich and meeting a lot of you. And then, 40 hours into it, really thank you so much for staying awake. So really, we want to talk about from Hackathon. We've actually worked with a lot of companies that we've met at Hackathon. So we've been doing these hackathons for about 3 to 4 years now. And at this point, we're actually seeing products that started off at a hackathon. I know a lot of teams that actually, we help them pair up during the startup, the hackathon team matching. We've had designers and devs who never met each other before events now have products that we actively promote to our users. So to give you a background, Evernote is an app, it's a note-taking app, but we have about 50,000 developers that are building ways of connecting to our APIs, some pretty popular apps as well. And we love to work with any app that helps our users do more with their content. So you've built a prototype this weekend, you're exhausted, now what? So I know some other graduate students from other universities who took a project during a semester and turned it into something bigger. And I think that's the point, is like, you gotta dream big. You gotta think of, I wanna go through some companies that have actually started off as either hackathons, weekend projects, or just an internal hack with a couple guys and girls at their company. One in particular that a couple of my friends work at is Twitter. Twitter is very interesting. Some of you may have read the book Hatching Twitter. I strongly recommend reading the story of it. But essentially, one of the lead Ruby developers at this company called Odeo, it was a podcasting company, he wanted to figure out a way to have a tiny message protocol that could be sent over SMS through 140 characters, so it could fit through text message. Obviously, this was actually the first version of Twitter. So like, a lot of you already have a head start. A lot of the apps I've seen today are actually responsive. The design looks intuitive. It's a good experience. Just remember, a lot of projects actually started. The difference is they kept working through their bugs. They kept pushing on the product because they believe it could do something better. Think about that. Think about ways that the product you have, can you continue it, and does it solve a need? And it's now a multi-billion-dollar public company. I think this quote's really helpful, as you guys are all, you've built a project this weekend, but it's really important to focus. So the quote, make every detail perfect and limit the number of details to perfect. It's, at Evernote, it's something we're constantly struggling with. How many features do we show the user right away versus what are the core features that actually are helpful? What is the minimum viable product for success? You constantly want to fight against your product being bloated, and very often we're going back to the table, redoing our UX, redoing our UI, making the experience as intuitive as possible on the specific devices we're building for. Another project, I'm super excited you're using Hacker League for this competition. So Hacker League, they're great guys, Mike Swift and his 2 other founders. So the 3 of them, I know them very well. They are developers in New York and in San Francisco. And they were developer advocates at different companies, one at SendGrid, another just like graduate students. And every hackathon they went to, people were trying to use Google Docs to keep track of the pitches. There was no way after the hackathon, like when I started doing hackathons, it was impossible to remember each one of the teams because you didn't have screenshots of what the product looked like, links, how it worked. And so they built a product. So essentially Hacker League is a way that for free, any school, any HackZurich, any large regional hackathon, you can create a web page. But what's really valuable is what I've noticed for designers, it's one of the best portfolio pieces you can have, showing off UI work, you worked on a project. And for developers, it's a very good way to show off your code and show off your skill set. Think about like a lot of times employers, especially in Silicon Valley and a lot of the tech hubs across Europe, like I can see that you've done a 6 or 9 month internship. I also care equally that you've done a lot of hackathons and you're putting yourself out there trying to build product. Because like all the struggles you guys hit, you know, certain of our APIs maybe was a pain 24 hours in, and you need to decide, do we cut this feature or do we push through and figure it out? Those type of decision making in a team setting, like keeping the team together also, that's very, very, very valuable for startups. Like we want to see that process of how you're fighting to like get to the end goal and stay on task. And so testing, whoops, sorry. I think my mic got cut. Yeah, okay. I can talk pretty loud too. Okay. Sorry about that.
Hello.
Okay, cool. We'll do this live. All right. And so Mike and his 2 developers, what's really cool is they built this product. It ended up being, the only alternative was very expensive other CMS tools for hackathons or for internal competitions. They actually ended up selling it to Intel and their API company Mashery for a lot of money. And what's cool is they've kept the product free, they've kept it open, and it solves a problem that like you all are benefiting from. They wanted to solve a problem for themselves, and like that's what's very interesting. I've seen a lot of apps this weekend, which like I would totally use that app. What was that awesome app you guys had? It was called DuckDuckGo. So you could like literally just have a virtual duck and you can share with someone else. Now that's not my direct need, but my kids would love that. So think of something that solves your own problems, and then you can branch out. One idea I really like, so the first one, Twitter, was just a side project, a quick hack project, a weekend project. The last one was building a product for yourself. Instagram, how many of you have used Hyperlapse? So for those of you who haven't, Hyperlapse is a way that you actually can take, let's say you take a minute of video while you're driving or flying or somewhere in motion. What Hyperlapse is going to do is it's keeping track of your gyroscope in your phone, so it's stabilizing your video in real time. So it knows if you move left a couple angles, it knows the whole video needs to stay still. So those of you who haven't tried it, definitely check it out. It's a really interesting use case, and the background story is Instagram acquired a company that just did image stabilization. So when Instagram rolled out about a year ago, there's the ability that like a shaky camera they could kind of smooth out the image. But then one of the lead designers at Instagram was like, well, I'd actually like to have motion video, like I'm biking through a city or I'm going down a boat. Previously, that was like millions of dollars of technology to like keep a camera steady while in motion. And then he worked with that team. He's like, hey, you guys want to hack on a project? We can actually figure out how to do it together. So Hyperlapse was revealed to the guys at Instagram. Like no one knew that it was coming, and they just kind of presented it on a Friday, already built and already working. So they had the prototype already there. Building the prototype, like showing something that's actually working than just talking about it is the best thing you could do. Because like it really, it makes a difference when you see a product already there. You would use it from day one. That's what's great about a hackathon is you've already built the prototypes. Now it's time to just refine it. So yeah, I think that whole story of Hyperlapse is interesting because they said, you know what, let's just make it, it's a very good power feature. Let's make it a standalone app, but then you can still add your Hyperlapse videos into Instagram. So it actually is keeping Instagram users engaged. I think that's an awesome concept, especially for those of you that have day jobs, but think you could build something better on the side, and that could ultimately help your team or your company or wherever you are. This is kind of a split slide. I think every one of you should read this book. The Lean Startup is an awesome book. Just practical advice for as you're trying to take a project and kind of move forward with it. Some things, I think if there's anything to remember from my babbling is this. These are things you really need to think about. You've built the prototype, but then these are very important. Product market fit and customer interviews. It's very easy to have like a survey, would you ever use our product? And everyone says yes. But what's troubling is as a startup, what people say they'll pay for and what people say they'll buy is often very different than what they actually do with action. So the value of customer interviews and really testing out in the field is our product, is our app or is our prototype or our web service like solving a problem. You don't know until you actually get some people trying it out and giving you honest feedback. Another one is minimum viable product. I can't stress that more. You really have to, whittle down the app to just the core feature and then just keep building off that. You really want to stay away from bloat, even for a hackathon on a weekend, like trying to build an iPhone and Android version. That's really hard. I mean, you split your time, you split the ability that you can, unless you have a large team, you split the ability of what you can do in one weekend. Really focus on, I know it was very controversial when Instagram first launched. They did not launch a web service. It wasn't until 2 years that they launched Instagram's web service, and that's because they just wanted to focus on a mobile experience. That's another point I think is very important, is a mobile first experience. You have to think about, we're all driving around, we're all moving very fast. Think about what is the easiest way to edit and work with your app. I think you really have to think of, if you've built desktop first, that's fine, but really think about how your app works in all these different devices, because you want it to be as flexible as possible. And then I think mentors is very important. So you all have actually, this has been a great opportunity for networking, to meet a lot of the sponsors. It's been great for myself personally to talk to the different sponsors and see the projects they're building and even their APIs. I've learned a lot this weekend. Find mentors that know a lot about a certain topic, right? So I have mentors that I will focus on, I will work with about being a better team member, or being a better coder, or improving our SDK. So I have mentors that help me on specific topics. You definitely want to kind of have those people in your life that are going to help you do that. And then also team building. Team building is really hard. Hackathons are really stressful. I think it's really smart. HackZurich said 2 to 4 people per team. We've had a lot of hackathons where the team wanted to stay 6 or 8 people. You know, at 1:30 in the morning, the team breaks up, and then 2 teams split off. And I think having that core unit of people that you want to work with over a long term is really important. I think hackathons give you that 24-hour, 40-hour preview of, could I see myself working with this person long term? Interesting fact, so Evernote's an interesting story. So our founder, Phil Libin, he went to Boston University. He's founded 3 different startups, and the same group has founded all the startups together. So the first startup he founded was Engine 5, with about 8 of his closest friends and engineers that he's worked with. They ended up selling that company for about 20 million. Then after that, they created a new company, Core Street, which is more in the security field. That same team went public for that app, and then the same group of about 8 engineers, now they're the CTO, the different people, they've built Evernote together. So I think what's exciting is, like, you all have those people that are going to be on your team for life, and the point of hackathons, the point of networking, the point of building projects is you're trying to figure out, are these the people I could work with long term? Especially to rely on them when times are hard. Like, I can't stress it enough. Like, that's what makes a hackathon great, is it gives you that preview. And so remember why you're here. Like, we're here to solve problems. You guys have all built apps because you saw something that didn't work. You wanted to make it better. You saw a couple APIs that you thought you could stitch together to make it a better product. I mean, really focus on, like, that's why we're here. So I want to talk about a couple companies we work with that were like right place, right time, or they really they came from a side project or a hackathon. How many of you heard of Feedly before? Oh, awesome. Okay. So for those of you who don't, how many remember Google Reader? Okay, so Feedly was building aggregation tools for RSS, for OPML, basically being able to see all your news articles, everything flowing in. Google Reader had done that for a long time. Feedly wanted to make a better experience, and they have a premium version. So Feedly had been kind of working on that. They were really flying under the radar. Google just announces we are done in the RSS reader business. We are shutting down. And then they had one little bullet point. If you want this still experience, we suggest you use this other alternative called Feedly. Feedly gets over 20 to 30 million users in one weekend. A lot of them paying. So we're very close to the Feedly team. They've built an awesome Evernote integration, so you can kind of all your news articles going to Feedly, but then you can push certain articles into your Evernote account. And what they've said is they're like, we just focused on our product, and all of a sudden the market really needed what we had, and we were ready, and we were already focused on the premium version. So I think that's a great story, because they were right place, right time, and a lot of you have built an app that I think a lot of people could use. So another one is, who's used Uber Conference before? So Uber Conference, it's pretty popular in the States. It was the Google Voice team. So the Google Voice team had built one of the first kind of open, free VoIP, voice over IP protocol tools that you could kind of chat, have telephony. They left Google. They left Google to then compete in TechCrunch Disrupt Hackathon in 2010. So that was actually like one of the first hackathons we were part of. They ended up winning. What Uber Conference does is it allows you to quickly set up conference calls from your iPad, from your computer, or from a telephone. And then afterwards, it's going to actually send you a summary, like who talked the longest, what, even like if it was tied to an Outlook calendar. It's a very popular tool. They also have a premium model, I think, at this point. Uber Conference is just super interesting because it's like this team focuses on voice technology. And yeah, voice technology, and they also have some imaging technology. And then they just keep, each company they've gone to or if they've been acquired, like they just keep working on that product. I think for myself, they're very inspiring because they never stop working on it. Another one is, who's heard of Pistachio? Okay, so Pistachio is super interesting. I'm very biased to Pistachio. They did come out of a weekend project. Pistachio allows you to have a fully customized website, your own .com, but it uses Evernote as a CMS. So one of the teams here built a very compelling app, Lines, which is similar. So essentially, like they had all these apps and they were sick of updating their WordPress and different WordPress or Drupal. And what they figured out is like any HTML or CSS or images inside each Evernote node is just a blog post. So then you can customize the website, you can design it like a Tumblr theme essentially. And they have a premium offering and they're making a lot of money. I think they're great because they built the project for themselves, actually for their own like internal docs. They were two freelance developers, and now they have like a full-fledged company up in Vancouver, Canada. Two more apps I'll go through. One is Swype. Swype is really interesting. They're a team from Denmark. They built this in a week-long competition, and essentially it's like you have task lists. So they can import your task list from Google, from Evernote, from all these different apps. And then what you have is like you have a swiping experience where you can say this task is done or I need to assign this task. And then it's going to, in real time, update all your cloud services. Again, another example of someone that works pretty hard. Chamasoft, I love Chamasoft. Chamasoft, we met. They are a startup in Kenya, in Nairobi, Kenya. And what they've figured out is, do you guys have the concept of credit unions here? So not banks, but credit unions. So essentially community-based banking. So in Africa, but specifically in Kenya, you have a lot of people are what you call unbanked. They don't use like federal or state level banks. They actually have community-based banks where everyone in the community pitches in a certain amount every year, and then people can take loans from that amount. They've really had no way of keeping track of that technology. There's really been no software to keep track. Has everyone participated? Has everyone put in funding to then use it later? So we met them because they ended up using building Evernote into their product, but just standalone, just Chamasoft itself. It's a super useful app because it solves a need. Literally, like half the country is in need of this app, so they've already have paying users. They built it because they needed it themselves. So I think, how am I doing on time actually? Perfect. Okay. So a couple, just a few more slides that actually I think these will be helpful for you. First one is stay fresh. You have to network and learn. It's been actually exciting to see some of you I met from the hackathon before in Berlin. It's been really fun to see that a lot of you have flown in from out of town. Yeah, it means a lot to kind of see you again and like you're working on your projects. I think keep networking and learning. I know that for myself is how I stay sharp, how I stay fresh. I know for myself and my team, like we want to make sure our strategy is good and like we're taking advantage of the best methods for our API and for our SDKs. So stay fresh, network, and then stay inspired. So why do I have 3 bottles of liquor? Someone laughed when I showed it before, and I love this photo. So these are 3 different startups that started from hackathons. I have a separate like closet for them. They started at hackathons and they're now companies that are profitable. So Pistachio, they're up in Canada. They hooked me up with Johnny Walker Black. I'm very grateful for that. Lunasoft, they started off from a hackathon we had in Monterrey, Mexico. They're like a project management tool for a certain type of company that they have like in Monterrey and in Mexico. And then the last one is DoingCast. They're a very popular freelance, it's kind of like a freelance surveillance tool. They're down in actually Sao Paulo, Brazil. But I keep these things because I'm like, it's so exciting when I see teams that met at hackathons, they kept working on the project, we stayed in touch, we got lunch or we hung out when they visited San Francisco or when I'm back in town. I think just keep working on your product if you do believe on it, if you do believe in it. And then just a couple other, like, just things that I think, some are silly, some are useful, that just inspire myself. So the Social Network movie, like, for good or for bad about Mark Zuckerberg, like, he was a really driven guy. And the story is super interesting because he definitely saw something other people didn't see. I think if I watch that all the time, I get motivated by that stuff. Who's seen the documentary, The Startup Kids? It's on Netflix, it's on a bunch of the different video streaming services over here too. See that documentary. They highlight Dropbox, they highlight SoundCloud, based in Berlin. They highlight a bunch of startups that have just keep focusing on their product. That's a great documentary. Why the heck do I have Office Space up on this? Office Space, I think I first saw it when I was like 14 years old. It is like, I watch it often. It is the company I never want to work for. I never want to be stuck in a suit in some big company feeling like I'm not making a difference. And I think Office Space does a very good job highlighting that. It's like, you can choose where you want to work. You can choose who you want your coworkers to be. There's nothing holding you back, and there's no reason why you can't push forward on your own project. Some more more serious books that these are books, so those are movies. These are some books I would definitely suggest reading. I just finished myself. The Hard Thing About Hard Things. This is Ben Horowitz, who is one of the partners at Andreessen Horowitz. They're a very large VC firm in the Valley. It's an amazing book. He talks about startups that he started, startups that have failed, mistakes he's made, things that have worked out but were hard decisions. It really helps you think about, like, as you're thinking, should I actually make this a project or a company? Read that book. It's an amazing book. Hatching Twitter. Hatching Twitter is a really good book. It's written by a reporter from the New York Times, Nick Bilton, and it covers how Twitter went from essentially a hackathon project and every way that it went to then become the company that it is today. Definitely suggest that. And then lastly is the Launchpad. You guys familiar with Y Combinator? So it's an accelerator in the Valley that essentially, if you get into a Y Combinator, they're gonna put all their resources to help you succeed and make your company viable. But it's really hard. It's a very difficult process. I would read that book. The way that they work with startups is always inspiring for myself. And so I'll end you with one last quote. This is a really good friend of Evernote. He's actually one of our investors. I didn't realize we were connected with him until I saw this quote a long time ago. I'll just kind of read it out. So, the very first company I started failed with a great bang. The second one failed a little bit less, but it still failed. The third startup, properly failed, but it was kind of okay. I recovered quickly. Number 4 almost didn't fail. It still didn't really feel great, but it did okay. And then number 5 was PayPal. And I think, just keep that in mind. Like, you guys are gonna keep hacking, building projects. Some of the projects are gonna be DuckDuckGo, and you'll be like, you know what? We learned a lot from that. That was awesome. We built that. Keep building and never stop hacking. Definitely keep coming to these type of events. And I just want to say thanks. Thanks for having us. We're super excited to be here. And yeah, good luck, and let's see what the judges say.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chris. That was awesome. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time for questions because we're already running late. I think that's fine.